UK is headed for a massive election. This is a snap election that was called by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and it seems to be the election that will result in his removal from 10 Downing Street. Now, the Conservative Party, which Rishi Sunak represents, has almost already conceded defeat to their rivals, the Labour Party. Now, for those who don't know, there are two major parties in the UK: the Conservative Party, which is the right wing party, and the Labour Party. The Conservatives have been in power for 14 rather bumpy years, and I'll take you through that. But this is what's happening so far. I wanted to share this headline with you. This is Reuters. That's the headline from Reuters that say the Conservatives say that their Labour rivals are heading for a record breaking UK election win. Now, the Conservative Party has nearly conceded the election even before a single vote has been cast. And it's likely that Keir Starmer of the Labour Party will win and will be the new Prime Minister. Opinion polls have also said that the Labour Party is headed for a massive win that will end the 14 years of Conservative government in the UK. Now, both Starmer and the Conservative Prime Minister Rishi Sunak kicked off the last day of campaign, warning voters of dire economic consequences if the other person were to win. Rishi Sunak coming under a lot of flack also for not being able to represent the underprivileged members or the underprivileged citizens of the UK who are currently struggling through perhaps a bad economic period. Now, facing predictions of the worst results in the party's history, the Conservatives have turned their focus to damage limitations, saying that they need to hang on to enough seats to be able to provide an effective opposition to the Labour Party. In fact, one Conservative minister, Mel Stride, told the BBC, I totally accept that where the polls are at this moment, it means that tomorrow is likely to see the largest Labour landslide majority that the country has ever seen, and therefore matters now what kind of opposition we are able to create to scrutinize the government. Now, you'll remember, of course, these 14 years that we're talking about also include the 2014 Scottish referendum. Also includes Brexit, Cameron quitting, the snap election, and of course Boris. Let's not forget Boris. Now, if we look at the Al Jazeera headlines, Al Jazeera basically says that there is a trust and competence issue with with the Conservatives at this point. There was the Partygate scandal dating back to COVID, when there was COVID and nobody was allowed outside of their houses. At that point, Boris Johnson, who was the prime minister, had a massive party at, and that sort of caused a lot of problems. He was replaced then by Liz Truss for about 6 weeks, and she sent the stock markets into a free fall with some of the decisions she made. There was a gambling commission scandal that happened recently where two Conservative candidates are being investigated for betting on the July elections. And there are similar other issues at this point, but fundamentally, what has happened is that it's almost set in stone at this point that Rishi Sunak and his party are going to be ousted from government, and they're going to be in opposition after 14 years. In the meantime, in the US, Biden has, you'll remember that what can only be described as a train wreck of a debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, which left a lot of Democrats completely nervous about what's happening to their, to their presidential campaign, where Joe Biden, who is the current president of the government, seemed incoherent, unable to hold a train of thought. And there was Donald Trump being himself fact checked by many people to have told multiple untruths and lies through the course of his debate, but Joe Biden was simply unable to stop him because he seemed at that point really struggling to be able to debate at all. Now, President Joe Biden has blamed his poor debate performance on jet lag, and he said that it wasn't very smart of him, but he traveled a lot before the debate. He didn't listen to his staff, and then he nearly fell asleep on stage, because he just was not able to keep up. It was jet lag, is what he said. He's 81 years old, and he returned from travel on the 15th of June, nearly 2 weeks ahead of the debate. And it was also said that he was practicing a great deal for that debate in those 2 weeks. Now, after that debate, there was panic within the Democratic Party in the UK, in the US, I beg your pardon, and they were worried about their mental fitness, and they were trying to figure out who could be a possible alternative candidate for Joe Biden. Now, there is apparently an understanding that they can still change their mind about who their candidate is. And that is what a CNN poll has now come up with, that most voters think the Democrats have a better chance of keeping the White House if Biden is not the nominee. But who could likely be that nominee? That's the other question. This is a poll conducted by CNN. It says that three-quarters of U.S. voters say the Democrat Party would have a better shot if they replaced Biden with someone else. Remember, Donald Trump at this point has about 6 points over Biden, but there's Biden, as you can see, those two lines there. The blue line is Biden, and most people feel that if the Democrats came up with a better option, they'd have a larger chance. Voters say the Democrats would fare better with an alternate president candidate. Joe Biden got 25% approval for this. Someone else, anyone else, is at 75%. So writing is clearly on the wall at this point for the Democratic Party as to who they're likely to choose. And people have been holding up, as you can see, protests here outside for Joe Biden, holding up placards saying, please drop out for us. Thank you. Next. Step down for democracy. And we love you, but it's time. So again, very clear messaging going out there to Joe Biden that it's time to step aside. His approval rating has fallen to a new low among all Americans. It's now at 36%, saying that a lot of people disapprove of his performance and they want him out. But there is, of course, a question as to who the next candidate likely would be. And here, there's another story here within CNN on who that would likely be. We'll take a look at that list as well. Kamala Harris undoubtedly is at the top of the list, but also apparently has struggled a great deal with her role as, vice president. She's most likely a Democrat not named. She has not. She's been asked a lot about whether she believes Biden is fit to contest, and she said yes. There's Elizabeth Warren, who's the Massachusetts senator. There are several. There's a large list of people, but the one that keeps coming up again is whether or not people think that Kamala Harris is likely to be named, or whether there are other options as well within the Democratic Party. It's a little late in the day, really, as to who will replace Joe Biden as the presidential candidate. Remember, the presidential elections are in November in the US. So that's what's happening right now in terms of the US and the UK. Remember, we're going to keep bringing you interesting stories as and when they happen. Leave us a comment if you believe that Joe Biden should step down and if there should be a different candidate who comes in, as the Democratic candidate against Donald Trump, or is it a given effectively now that Donald Trump, who's been convicted of various crimes already, is likely to be the new president of the United States? That's a wrap from me tonight. Remember, of course, to like, share, subscribe, and if you can, please sign up for our membership as well. Thank you for watching.